Okay, it is 10:33 a.m. and I think at this point I can go over TXTM without being a little too salty. But if you look at my notes here, I actually did have TXTM, something I was considering for a morning panic bounce play if it had volume, and it didn't really do it. But I did go for an uptrending setup, not a downtrending setup, not a dip buy, but the idea was is that the previous day high right here was 1112, and I thought, they had these two exponential green candles after it's been uptrending for a while, and then I thought, I had one here and maybe I might try to do another one. And I did take into consideration of buying. This one really did not work out. This setup absolutely failed. At 940, I was in 15,000 shares at 11.3, so right around here. When it was looking like the price action was really good, and it was also looking like it was going to break that 11-12 level, and then it could be like a nice morning spike, and that just did not work out at all. It immediately looked ugly the next minute, and I thought, all right, well, worst case scenario, I'm gonna have to cut it at the day low if it looks like it's gonna break it, which was 108, and there was also like a wall of bidders at 108. Unfortunately, this thing just did a dump. As you can tell, I had a lot of volume here, and it just absolutely fell off a cliff. I did have a sell order at 945 when it was looking like it was going to approach the day low and break under it, and I just was not able to get filled until 104. So this one really did not work out. And I thought worst case scenario, it might drop as low as sub penny level 88. I thought it could do something like that. And the lowest it's gotten to is 92. So it's not too far off from the 88 level. And I think I'm happy for the most part that at least I didn't have this situation where, it looks like it's going to break the day low. I wasn't able to get filled, and then I get filled at like 102, and then it goes all the way back to where it was. Like, I've had that happen before. That is super painful. This wasn't the case. I did sell at 104, and sure, maybe for a moment it would have been possible to sell at 105, but it never came back to where it was, and it did continue the downtrend even more with even more volume towards the downside. So, yeah, this thing is looking. I guess it doesn't look horrible, but it's funny that I got owned in this red candle right here, right? And it's like the biggest red candle in the past 20 days, so that's unfortunate, but at least I tried, and I did the best that I was able to. This one was interesting. GTII did do a bull flag here. I was watching it, but I didn't trade it because I tried it this day right here a few times when it looked like it was trying to do a bull flag, and all of those times failed. But this one actually did do a spike on top of a gap up, which makes it kind of sketchy. It did go from the $2.07 level, it got to the 260, so really massive. And then it did downtrend, and maybe a buy could have been possible at 246. It did get as high as 260, and then it did another drop. This one slightly below VWAP, and then it went back again. And I was looking at it for the same setup, a symmetrical triangle. I never bought it. There was a time when I was close to considering a buy, but I never bought it. Just something seems a bit off with this one. How, at this point right here, it did do like, and I guess I'll remove this trend line right here since it's not really that relevant anymore. This looked like the ascending triangle, and it looks like it broke under it, but it did hold, and then it uptrended, and I didn't like that, how it just broke the bottom part of the ascending triangle. Actually, not an ascending, that's symmetrical because it's both downtrending. This one, and then this one's uptrending. I didn't like how it broke under it, which was a bearish setup, and then it tried to regain itself. That's never something I really like to see. It's almost like its last breath, trying to regain itself before it falls off, and that's exactly what it did here. And there wasn't anything here that I was interested in trading. Sure, it broke the trend line right here, but this would have been very brief. Never traded this one. It just broke under it, and I didn't like how, it broke under and it tried to regain itself. If it were to have just cleanly broken above it and then it breaks under it later, okay, I would have gone out of it. But yeah, this just seemed a bit weird. But I did take into consideration just a little bit right here at 1020, and it blew past my limit so quickly, and then I canceled it because it just seemed kind of off. It just seems like a little trap to suck a bunch of people in before it downtrends, just like TXTM perhaps. right here, just briefly broke above the level, brought in a bunch of people, including me, and then I wasn't able to cut it in the downtrends later. So, yeah, that's the situation right now. I don't think there's going to be anything that I'm going to trade unless something really clean happens later. Otherwise, I might make a recap when the market is closed, unless I just happen to find something else in the meantime. Alright, it is 5:04 p.m. and I am here to call it off. Overall, I'm going to be down on the day, 13 bucks and 50 cents, and that was trading TXTM. It really sucks, but it's totally fine. I gave it the best shot, and it doesn't even look like that much anymore, but I was a part of this big red candle, but this thing continued to sell off. It was that idea that maybe it was going to break the range, and it looked like it was until it wasn't. And then it downtrended and I wasn't able to cut it. Maybe if I were to have gone out at the day low, which was more ideal at 108, I would have lost a lot less. Well, that's totally fine. For what it was a good try. And I do want to know, I guess there might have been a setup here when it was following this downtrending trend line and it broke past it. And then it started the uptrend from the 77s as high as the 84s, which is VWAP. Not too ideal, because honestly, with something like this, I would have perhaps wanted it to have maybe dropped one more time and tried to get close to the line and then rebound from there. But I do like how it had a big volume candle, although I guess it's not as big as this one right here. This was a bounce, and then GTII also offered one, and this is something that I was going for. I just didn't take the trigger. Today just kind of sucked with that sell with TXTM. It kind of, killed off the vibe, and I didn't want to do anything stupid and maybe try to like get in setups that are not so ideal to try to make it back. But I do like how I was following this downtrending trend line with GTII, and this is what I wanted with TXTM, something where it broke past it, had one more downtrend, and it wasn't able to regain itself under it. But then this kind of reversal was a little too much, so it might have been hard, but it did work out, and this was a move from maybe the 194s as high as 240. It got above VWAP in this case, and this was pretty profitable. That's pretty much it. That was a nice setup with GTII, and TXTM also offered it here, so maybe I could have been able to have been profitable today, but that's totally fine. That's all I have for today.